Welcome to the Fitness Simplified podcast. I'm Brooke Davis, women's functional nutritionist and fitness specialist with Elysian Women's Wellness, and I'm here to simplify your fitness. Today, I am talking about something that a lot of women in midlife really struggle with, and it impacts every aspect of your health and your life. And that is sleep, and that is waking up in the middle of the night, oftentimes not being able to fall back asleep. So we're going to talk about why that happens, what you can do about it, and how to support your body through this. As far as, this window is, like I said, a really classic thing that happens in perimenopause, menopause, in the women aged 30 to 60. And the reality is that your body is trying to correct something. So it can be from blood sugar swings to stress and hormone fluctuations, temperature, right? It can be thyroid related. Obviously, it can be bladder related, it can be liver related. So there's a lot of systems that play a role in this. But the good news is that there is some really small things that you can do to support your body, and tweak through your routine or your nutrition, your support, right? That will usually fix it. So the most common one is blood sugar. This is maybe you are having a lot of carbs throughout the day, wine at night. I know this is really common for, you feel like it helps wind you down, but unfortunately it's actually making your sleep quality worse. And then dessert, of course, something high sugar that's going to spike your blood sugar before dinner, or those long gaps between meals can actually spike your blood sugar and then create that tank, the sharp overnight drop. When this happens, your body will release cortisol and adrenaline because they are glucose regulators, and that will help stabilize blood sugar, but it also wakes you up. So some of the other things is that in midlife and during these time of fluctuating hormones, when your progesterone is lowering, this is actually a hormone that supports stress resilience. And so when it is dropping, you are more sensitive to those cortisol spikes, and it makes these swings in blood sugar and blood glucose more disruptive to your system. And then, like I mentioned, alcohol actually suppresses REM sleep, and then it rebounds with that garbage sleep, kind of fragmented between that 2 to 4 a.m. time. So if you are waking up hungry, sweaty, like you're having hot flashes in the middle of the night, between that 2 to 4 a.m. window, the first place you should look is blood sugar. And ways you can support that. Did a whole thing on this a couple weeks ago, but making sure that you are getting balanced meals at dinner. So 30 to 40 grams of protein, make sure you're getting fiber, vegetable, and then quality fats. If you're eating dinner maybe a little bit earlier before bed, if you're eating like 4 hours before bedtime, having something maybe even an hour, 30 minutes before you go to bed, like a balanced snack. So something with protein, fruit, fats, like Greek yogurt, some cinnamon, some berries, something like that can be really beneficial to helping stabilize blood sugar throughout the night. And then not having alcohol at least 3 to 4 hours before bed is going to help avoid that disruption. So if you are going to have like a glass of wine, try and get it in enough time that your body can process it and clear it from your system before it's going to disrupt your sleep. Another potential contributing factor to that wake up time is chronic stress, the HPA axis. So hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, like I mentioned, with progesterone shifts, even, if you are experiencing low progesterone, even outside of perimenopause, which is really common, can be stress induced, which it creates this self-fulfilling prophecy or this vicious cycle. So if you are under chronic stress, you're doing late night work, right? You have your screens. If you are working out late at night, if you are doing, intense workouts later in the evening, that can induce a cortisol spike. So that is going to elevate your cortisol at night, which is going to keep you awake. So it either is going to keep you awake, okay? And if that cortisol, right? We have this cortisol curve. So it starts low, it comes up high in the morning. That should wake you up. And then it should slope down throughout the evening into the night. But if it doesn't, okay, your sleep is, if you're again doing any of those things near bedtime, or you just have chronically elevated cortisol overall, then you might be exhausted and right, you might be able to sleep initially, but around that 2 to 4 a.m. time, your body is trying to kind of reset once you wake up, and it could be anything. It could be having to pee, which is really common. Okay. Then it makes it harder to go to sleep. Okay. And yes, having to pee woke you up. You were already in not super great sleep. And then having that cortisol disruption, which again could also be blood sugar induced, whether you have to pee or not, is what then keeps you awake and then able to go to sleep. So when, again, progesterone plays a huge role in this. So when that progesterone is declining, this is a GABA supportive. So GABA is a calming hormone. It can cause that sleep quality to be reduced, the depth of your sleep and the ability to fall back asleep can be reduced. So what can you do about it? Just honestly, a sleep routine, okay? A short sleep routine, get your brain, your body geared for sleep, just 5 to 10 minutes of some sort of nervous system regulation. So 4-7-8 breathing, we love legs up the wall here. If you have your bedtime routine, right, a warm shower, aromatherapy can be a part of that routine, which gets your brain in that go to sleep gear. And then brain dumps are amazing. Rid your brain of getting it down on paper can really help your brain shut down. So if that's something that you're noticing, you wake up and you're like, oh, I have this long to-do list, then brain dump it. You could do tomorrow's like top tasks, things like that. And then probably one of the major movers is going to be to eliminate blue light if you can at least an hour before bed, and then just reducing the lighting in your house overall. I know some people put like red light bulbs in, just putting on the dimmer. And then if you are working out later at night, try and move those a little bit earlier. So again, just simple shifts that can make a big difference in sleep quality. And then the next is hormonal shifts. I mentioned progesterone, but that is going to decrease the quality of sleep that you're getting. That fluctuating estrogen can obviously cause night sweats, hot flashes. This can cause you to wake up, and then cortisol, everything else kind of takes over. The brain, inability to calm the brain down, those can all kind of follow along, making it harder to go to sleep. So those are really common, obviously. And then, so similar fixes kind of apply here, making sure that you are having that nighttime routine, get yourself into that rest and digest mode, having a cooler room. So if you can open a window, making sure that your pajamas, the bedding you're using is breathable. And then even keeping a cool ice pack, cold water next to your bed can help just tame symptoms more instantly. And then tracking your symptoms, your cycle, getting support with supplements, stabilizing hormones, making sure that you are doing the foundational things. So quality nutrition overall. Phytoestrogens are amazing. I have a whole podcast on that. And then if it is fitting, things like HRT can be beneficial for that as well. But nervous system support is probably nutrition and nervous system support are two of the major non-hormonal, non-MHT, menopausal hormone therapy routes to make sure that you're addressing when navigating hot flashes. And then, of course, we cannot forget the gut. It is so common. Gut issues. I don't want to say I have yet to meet somebody, but there are so many. It's very rare that the gut is not an issue. And so things like heavy meals, reflux, fermentable carbohydrates, high histamine foods, things like wine, cheese, processed meats, those can increase your nighttime wakings and the ability for you to fall asleep. So these things can be, again, very easily fixed to try and make sure dinner is done 2 to 3 hours before bed. Taking that post-meal walk, which is going to help support blood sugar as well as digestion. That'll help reduce that overall. And then if you have reflux, if that's something you experience regularly, especially if you're eating late and putting that and then going to bed, laying on a couple of pillows. And then if there are things that are triggering this, obviously try and avoid them. And then one of the last things, and this goes, yes, it's gut related, but also just in general, is keeping caffeine before noon, 2 p.m. at the absolute latest. My cutoff personally is like 1 p.m. unless I know I want to be up later because I'm pretty caffeine sensitive. Even if you don't feel like you are, I challenge you to try it. Try making your cutoff noon and see how it impacts you. And then, of course, we have to discuss minerals, hydration. So going back to stress, hormonal shifts, all of these play a role in depletion of minerals. So magnesium, sodium, potassium, these are going to help stabilize your blood sugar. They're going to help with relaxation. So with hydration, first of all, if you are not getting that at least half your body weight in ounces, make sure you're getting that as a minimum. But we do want to try and finish that at least an hour and a half, maybe before bedtime, at the latest. But then electrolytes, if you are sweating quite a bit, if we've done testing and you're low, if you are under excessive stress, then making sure that you are getting an extra dose of potassium and sodium, and then magnesium. So magnesium is going to support that GABA, that hormone that helps promote relaxation, that is reduced by progesterone. So that can be huge. The potassium and sodium are going to help stabilize your blood sugar. So all of those things are going to combined help support sleep overall. And then we have to talk about the liver. So the liver does a large portion of its processing overnight. So glucose release, hormone and metabolite clearing, bile flow. Okay, so if this system is overburdened with things like alcohol, processed foods, inadequate protein, poor detox pathways, you don't have regular bowel movements, if you have major blood sugar swings, if you're lacking nutrients, things like minerals, vitamins and minerals, okay, then that 2 to 3 a.m. wake up is a really common sign of that. Same with night sweats, vivid dreams. Those are a couple of ways that you can potentially identify that you need more detox support. So the best way to do that overall is making sure that you are, again, getting adequate macronutrients, high protein. Cruciferous vegetables are huge for clearance of, estrogen metabolites. And then making sure you're getting enough fiber. So 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. That 25 is a minimum, and you should be getting at least one bowel movement per day. So we want to make sure that you are clearing that fiber, and hydration is going to be a big part of that. So if you have tried some of the more simple things, I would say, like, your timing of nutrients throughout the day, you have your bedtime routine, you're reducing that blue light, but you're still getting that 2 to 3 a.m. wake up, then maybe prioritizing some micronutrients to support the liver is going to be the next step. So making sure, again, you're getting enough protein, B vitamins, magnesium, those are some of the main ones for that liver support. So those are some of the main things that cause that wake up time or within that time window. And of course, few of the things that you can do to reduce that, support it. A few things that if you are having issues beyond that, so snoring, sleep apnea, those all, of course, should be further discussed with your provider, anxiety, depression, etc. And then some things that thyroid symptoms, if your temperature is reducing, hair loss, super low energy, those could all be, you could dive into thyroid testing a little bit deeper. So one of the questions, what do you know about glutathione for liver health? Glutathione is great, honestly, for all sorts of things, but it is, it's beneficial for sure. Glutathione really, in terms of supplementing, I don't think you can go wrong with it for any specific issues. That being said, the uptake of glutathione specifically is kind of a, I guess, debated thing, right? Just purely taking glutathione, depending on how you're taking it, doesn't necessarily increase levels. So it can be better to kind of support precursors. And then, of course, foundations need to be prioritized or addressed as well. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Fitness Simplified podcast. We are stoked to have you join us on your journey to better health and fitness. If you have any questions, suggestions for future topics, or you just want to chat, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Brooke_Elysian and Facebook linked in the show notes, or via our website, ElysianWomensWellness.com. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, we'd be thrilled if you could take a half second to leave us a 5-star rating and review so that you can help others find our show. If there was something you heard that was helpful or impactful, please screenshot, tag me, and share what it was so that we can bring you more. Plus, you'll be entered into our monthly Legion Recharge post-workout giveaway. New episodes drop every other Monday, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Thanks for listening.